This is the video review for Transformers, it's either Beast Wars 2 or Beast Wars Neo, Magmatron. Magmatron is kind of an interesting figure because he's made up of 3 different beast modes. I can't combine into a super single beast mode that looks like crap that I won't be showing because it's kind of a pain, doesn't work very well, and is ugly as all sin. But he does have one of the neatest transformations into robot mode in all of Transformers, and a very nice robot mode. So first, I'll go over the 3 different beasts. Let me put them off to the side. I will start out with my favorite, which is Lansar. Lansar is a Allosaurus something, a bipedal meat eater. He probably has the weakest of the beast modes because he has this stuff back here and what will very obviously turn to a chest, but he's also the most fun to play with just because, well, he's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. He's not a bird with very limited posability, and he's not a plesiosaurus with a neck that comes apart very easily and otherwise can only do a swimming motion. This guy, rah rah rah. These little stubby arms go all over the place. His legs go back, forward, out, knee, and foot. So, not the most articulation in the world, but certainly sufficient for what he needs to do, which is be a fun little dinosaur toy. Each of these has a spring-loaded gimmick. This one has a jaw that chomps back down. If you open it all the way, a firing mechanism in his throat will trigger. If he has a missile in his mouth, he'll shoot. There's a hear that rattling. There's a missile that turns into kind of a blade thing for robot mode in here. Doesn't fit. There are 2 missiles in the plesiosaur. They're the only ones that he can have in his mouth where his mouth will actually close. And then the Pteranodon has 2 red missiles in his wings, and those make it look like he has a tongue. So I typically don't use any missiles on this guy. So to transform him into the combined robot mode, his portion of it, straighten out the legs, pull these things out, pull out the heel, and slip this under his foot, and push this up in between his toes. Do the same thing on the other side. And then he has these little things back here which come out. And those will help lock those into place, just enough friction. And those are his legs. Next, you will split apart his pelvis just a little bit, which will let you free up his tail. Here's the missile I was talking about. I'll put that off to the side for now. With his tail, you'll turn it about, push this down, and then tab it in right here. Pull this up, and pull this up, and take out this throat piece, which has a missile launcher in it. Rotate down the legs, pull this up, turn it around, tab the legs together, and then bring this down. This will tab over these 2 holes here and help keep the pelvis together. Then you have 2 little things here and here. These will come down, and these little arms will fit inside of them. You'll turn the T-Rex head this way and forward, and this is the heel. And this is the kind of chassis for the robot mode. You can see where the chest is, where the legs are, where the arms will be, and where the head will be. And I'll put this off to the side for now. Here we have Skysar. He's well, it's not a Pteranodon, it's a Quetzalcoatlus. In this mode, he has a somewhat posable neck, and a beak that will open. No side to side, though. He has ball-jointed legs with hinged knees and hinged feet. And he has a tail that moves up and down. If you pull on the tail, the wingtips will do this. And to transform this into what will become the head, pop this up, bring it down, snap it into place. Bring this up, and this down. I'll leave the head out a little bit, and then just get these arms out of the way. And here you can see one of the flaws that I have with the robot mode, which is that he has these big, long ear-looking things. And because he has the flapping gimmick, which can't be used in robot mode, the wings don't actually go forward and back, and that prevents the use of his neck articulation. Although honestly, these little feet would prevent it too, but I wish they had done something to allow these things to get out of the way. Like if you didn't have the spring-loaded gimmick in here, maybe they could fold up a little bit smaller, look a bit more in scale. Well, not in scale, but look more proportionate. But yeah, this is the head. With the head, to combine it with the body, there's a tab here, or a peg here, a tab here on the throat, and a peg here. What you will do is you will tab the neck into the chest, push the chest back, which will allow you to tab this in back here. And while you're doing that, pray that the tab on the side goes into the back of the T-Rex head, and that the tab on the side of the T-Rex neck goes into here. So push that back. And once you get some practice, that is pretty easy to do. At first it's like, oh my god, why is it not working? Stupid figure. But then you figure it out, it's like, oh hey, it's easy. So, no, nothing popped out. And then you tab the feet onto the chest. And this actually is kind of the hard part now because the tabs aren't that well designed. They're just kind of there and, oh hey, if you want to try, you can. And we'll put this off to the side for now. Here we have the plesiosaur. This one probably has the best looking of the alt modes, just because it has this nice pearlescent sheen on it, and this very impressive neck. Although do be careful, it's ball jointed. The ball joints are prone to wearing down like all ball joints. And, well, you can pop it apart. You can also pop off these flippers if you're not careful. The spring-loaded gimmick for this figure, pull down these, and he swims. It's actually a fairly graceful swimming motion, too. The mouth can open and move the head however you like. Honestly, I think it's a bit over-articulated. I would have preferred something a bit more simple and not ratcheted, maybe soft ratcheted, with mostly hinges with a swivel here or there. I think that would have worked a little bit better for me. To get it for the robot mode, pop this up, and then you will slide this out, and this bit of useless parts forming kibble just sort of goes off to the side. It can become a pretty crappy shield. I'll show that to you, but I typically don't use it. I just leave it off to the side of the figure. This is the only thing I don't like about Magmatron. So put that off to the side. And here you have this mess of a head, parts, and two arms in here. Pull these out. Pull this out. Rotate the paws down. And we should be about ready to complete the combination. What you'll do, take Magmatron here. There's a little tab here and a little hole in here. You will push that in, and then just start wrapping seesaw around the figure like a jacket. Wrap it around, wrap it around. Force this shoulder bit in here under. This is probably the tricky part, just because there's so many parts here now that you have to watch out for from all the different parts. All the different beast modes, and then make sure you don't pop anything apart. Hey, what's with it? You usually have no problem with that. Yeah, there's a little tab on the back of Skystar that Caesar tabs into. If that doesn't quite align right, you can have some issues. So tab this in here, fold this in, try and make sure that tab goes in, but it's hard to see, so you can only do so much. Like, the best way to tell is if you look back here through this hole and see if it's aligned right at all. See if it's gripping onto anything. Yeah, this is about the only flaw, trying to get this tab on. And once you get it on, there, I got that on. Once you get it on, it'll hold pretty well. It won't stay on too well, except that this pegs in up here. And if this is, for the most part, Magmatron, except now you have this big long head to take care of, this big long neck to take care of, and it's hard to find anything that really works well. But the place where this head is supposed to end up is there's a little hole in the shoulder here and a little tab under its neck. So just make sure it goes there, and arrange this however you like, where it stays out of the way as best as possible. There is a way that you can kind of get it to work. You just gotta mess with it until you're happy. Which, for the purposes of a review, this is good enough. Especially since it's one of those things that you can mess with it as much as you like, it's never going to quite be perfect. And it stays out of the way pretty well, so the worst you'll see is a little bit of the head behind it. And if you really want to, you could just pop it off the ball joint. And this is Magmatron in robot mode. I think he looks brilliant. He looks really good. He's pretty big, very imposing, very menacing. He has a great head sculpt. A lot of detailing, like especially on the leather hide for the T-Rex, and yeah, he just looks really good. As far as articulation, he has no neck articulation. He should, but he doesn't. His arms go forward, back, out. He has a rotation above the elbow and a little bit more 90 degrees at the elbow, but he has curling iron arms, which is a shame. His legs go forward, back, about that far, out, and he bends at the knee. And you can move this around if you need to for balance. So, considering that this is an older toy, Beast Era, and for how complex the transformation is, and how ingenious and, well, innovative this figure is, I don't quite mind the parts forming, I don't mind the limited articulation, but I do mind that the fists are curling iron fists. And the reason they're curling iron fists is because of the crappy beast mode that I never use. Because they have to become feet for the hind legs. So they would flatten out like that. And to use this, which is a sword, my preferred way of using the throat weapon, there's a little tab here and a little hole in this fist. And you kind of have to work this around the thumb. It's once you figure out how you need to do it, which I seem to have forgotten now, it gets easier, but it's certainly not the easiest thing in the world to do. Especially since I have the camera in front of me, it's kind of hard to do it, but this is what it looks like. And this is pretty cool looking. And something interesting in this figure, he has what's called a mitotic spark in the show. So he has a spark crystal here on his shoulder, covered by this yellow plate, and here, one for each of his beast modes, and that's pretty cool. As far as his shield thing goes, and this is where the other missiles are, by the way, you're supposed to fold these down, and then hook it onto his arm down like this, so you have, this is kind of a crappy claw. I don't do that, I just fold these flush against the body, and I put it on this way down, and you'll see why. This pegs onto the side of his arm, and is, hold on, he's got this thing right here which gets in the way. You can just fold it out like that. Well, no, even then it still gets in the way. I just like this piece. There's not really anything you can do with it. So this will tab on. And then if you fold out his thumb here, I see this is kind of loosish, and it pops out very easily. That can fold over his thumb, and that holds it a bit more solid. And that's a way to keep the shield on with him. And if you do this, it does become a pretty convincing shield. Like, I believe this would protect him, but it still sucks because it's under detail compared to the rest of the figure. It's just one big blank underside, and it's just big, it gets in the way, and it falls off all the time. So I recommend just leaving that off to the side. So one last thing is, because he has his tail, if you need to, you can use this as a tripod, like to support a pose. And normally I don't like it when that kind of stuff happens, but for this figure, I don't mind it. Just the same as I don't mind it for the Star Wars crossovers, Vader to Star Destroyer to Anakin thing. And those are my thoughts. It's a pretty good figure. Thank you for watching.